Exciting new Starfield gameplay details have surfaced again thanks to Todd Howard revealing more about the game on the Kinda Funny podcast and an IGN interview. And today I'm going to give you the highlights and information as there's some really great stuff in here. Drop a like below, thank you, and let's get into it. We're starting off with modding, obviously a huge part of most Bethesda titles. Todd stated that Starfield is going to be a modder's paradise, and it's been part of the Bethesda DNA for 20 years, with the community still modding and playing their oldest games. He elaborated that modding is important to enable but also to participate in and make it easy for people to do. He also insinuated that with Starfield, modders will have the opportunity to make it not just a hobby but a career. So potentially there may be some kind of rev share platform in the works for this game. I'm personally looking forward to Thomas the Tank Engine again, but also the inevitable Star Wars Total Conversion mod in a few years' time. In the marketing so far, Bethesda have said that there are over 1,000 planets to explore, and naturally this raised a lot of questions, and Todd went into a bit more detail about what to expect. So there are over 1,000 planets, that's true, and the landscapes are pretty much all procedurally generated. The devs made X kilometer square tiles and then they get wrapped around a planet with some randomness and variation. However, there are many individual locations on these planets that are handcrafted and placed specifically. Think stuff like main story, main quests, side quests, etc. More handcrafted areas in fact than any game Bethesda have made before. 10% of the planets have life on them, and as a player you'll start to figure out which planets are in the Goldilocks zone with potential for life versus a planet that might be mainly focused on mining and resources. Todd mentioned a quote from astronaut Buzz Aldrin, the magnificent desolation, and that's the idea that there's a certain beauty in knowing that you may be one of the first or even the only person to ever visit a planet and discover what's there, or what's not there. Planets will feature biome diversity too. Some planets may have many biomes, others might just have one. The same goes for the creatures there too. Certain creatures can be aggressive, and they've seen examples of predator-type creatures hunting and killing the more passive creatures on the planet. So you might land on an unknown planet, find a load of dead wildlife, and suddenly find yourself being hunted by a particularly nasty creature. Different biomes affect your stats too. You'll have to take temperature and radiation into account when visiting a planet, so your suit and protection is important. Certain biomes can inflict ailments on you. Weather elements can also come through and mess you up as well. There are no land vehicles or mounts in the game, however, your boost pack acts as a faster way to get around, being especially effective on low gravity planets. The spaceship customization is said to be incredibly in-depth with a modular building system. All of the ships that were shown so far in the trailers and the gameplay demo were built by the same builder in the game that the players will use. Todd said that it's a very deep system, geared towards late game and incredibly complex. It's a long-term commitment if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, but near the start of the game, of course, the basic stuff will be there from the get-go. The module system works from inside of the ship as well as the outside, so you can make everything look how you choose. Interestingly, if you board and steal a ship in space, you'll have to spend credits on it to register and upgrade it in an effort to keep the game economy in check. So while you can have a fleet of ships, you'll have to pay for them if you want to secure them and upgrade them. The base building or outpost system is also said to be just as complex. You can do all of that in the beginning and start building the basic stuff to start, but to get really crazy with it, you have to develop character skills, collect resources, special items, etc. You can even connect outposts in a way between planets and shuttle resources to and fro for building. Outposts can be an economy generator, and you can leverage plants and animals to generate resources for you. Starfield runs on new tech and a new engine that took a long time to put together. This game has been in development for 8 years. Todd mentioned how the game features real-time global illumination for accurate lighting and shadows, etc. Also, it has volumetric fog, which interacts with the lighting too. Starfield is locked at 30 FPS on the Xbox Series S and X. The S runs at 1440p and the X is in 4K. When asked if a performance mode was ever considered, Todd said that they never looked at sacrificing game features and scope for a 60 FPS target. The most important thing to them was consistency, fidelity, and hyper detail. Now, how you feel about this? Well, that's up to your preference, of course. If you're going to be playing on PC, this won't apply to you, but it would have been nice, I think, to give the console players an option for lower textures, model detail, etc. in return for higher frame rates. Companions are a major part of the game, and these are the NPCs that will join you and your crew and assist on missions, etc. You can go into great depths with the main companions, but you can also play solo if you want to, and certain traits and skills will let you play by yourself, giving you perks and bumps if you're on your own. Depending on the choices that you make on mission and in conversations, these companions can get angry with you, and the relationships that you have with them can change based on the decisions that you're making in the game. You can leave companions behind too if you're getting annoyed with them, I guess, or assign them to outposts far away, and even ships that you're not using if you don't want to see or hear from them again. The romance options in the game are the 4 main constellation characters, featuring full quest lines. In terms of side quests, there's a lot of specific side quests which are story based and handcrafted, but also a bunch of generated missions, some of those spawning when you land on any specific planet. As for add-on content after the release of the game, there is said to be a lot of add-on content coming, including story expansion packs, varying sizes of DLC, following a similar DLC model as some of their previous games. But that's to say that there's still a bunch of features and stories that they want to add. Some quickfire snippets here too, which I thought were kind of cool. The game will not have fishing, sad times. In terms of accessibility, a large font mode will be one aspect of that in the game. When asked about Steam Deck compatibility, Todd said, "We will talk about it later down the road." Can you have an all-robotic crew on your ship? Technically, yes. Starfield has more dialogue than Fallout 4 and Skyrim combined. Todd wouldn't comment on if black holes were in the game, so I guess that means that they are, and they will feature heavily in some way. There will be plenty of tech lore in the game explaining how certain tech works, such as the gravity drive, bending space and folding it towards you. They get into this kind of thing deeply, explaining what happened to Earth and building a universe that feels grounded and believable from where humanity and where the tech is today to where we and it might be in the year 2310. Gravity is an important part of the story too, exploring how that affects people in the universe, how they bend it, how they feel about that. And I feel like this could be connected to the weird force powers that we saw briefly in the latest presentation. The game sticks to its original vision for Bethesda's type of role-playing game set in space, with one of the main goals being to always say yes to the player if they ask, "Can I do this?" One of the biggest inspirations for Starfield was Red Dead Redemption 2 in terms of living in and getting lost in a world, in this case a sci-fi exploration fantasy. The game is said to be very large with a do whatever you want to do mentality. Long-term play has been built in from the get-go, meaning they expect people to be playing this for hundreds of hours and years rather than 30 hours and then you've seen and done everything. One of Todd's most recent memorable experiences in terms of moment-to-moment gameplay was landing on an early game planet, exploring for a little while when suddenly a sandstorm kicked up and blew through, and then an enemy ship randomly landed. He got into a firefight with them, killing a couple, pushing onto their ship, when suddenly the ship decided to take off into space while he was still on it. And finally, some non-Starfield stuff that he let slip. id Software, the makers of Doom, helped out with the graphics tech in this game, and also showed him a teaser of what they're making next. After Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6 is next, and then Fallout 5 after that. And Bethesda have some mobile games coming up too that they've not talked about yet, and Fallout Shelter is their most played game ever. And with that said, that's all of the new gameplay information that we got. Hope you enjoyed this one and found it insightful. If you did, drop a like below and help support me, thank you. How are you feeling about Starfield now that it's so close to launch? Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.